Alright, what's going on everybody? So last week I decided to check out Full Dive, an adaptation of a light novel by Cautious Hero creator Light Tuchii. I originally wasn't interested in watching this anime until I found out that the source material was written by the author of Cautious Hero. I really enjoyed Cautious Hero for its comedy and characters, so I decided to give it a chance. This video will cover my thoughts on the first 6 episodes of the series that is currently available on Funimation. Full Dive is a fantasy action comedy series that centers on a high school student named Hiroshi Yuki who plays virtual reality games to escape the troubles of his everyday life. The show takes place in a future where virtual reality has advanced significantly to the point where developers can accurately replicate the 5 senses. The series is set after what was considered to be the golden age of VR gaming, where developers were in the pursuit of creating more realistic experiences. One day after school, Hiroshi goes to buy the newest VR MMORPG, but ends up not being able to afford it due to him being taken advantage of by some bullies at school. He then goes to another shop hoping that he could purchase it for a cheaper price. The shopkeeper, Riona Kizuragi, tricks him into buying an old game that was released during the peak of the golden age of VR games called Kiwami Quest. Despite not getting the game he wanted, Hiroshi decides to try the game and Riona promises to assist him. Hiroshi is initially amazed by the amount of realism in the game, but as soon as he tries to start making progress in the game, something goes horribly wrong. What happens during Hiroshi's first interactions with 2 NPCs, Martin and Alicia, is something I doubt anyone will see coming. I don't want to spoil what happened for those of you who haven't seen the show yet, but the character gets in a tough situation to where he can't progress without dealing with the mistake that he made. Hiroshi is in a similar situation in real life as he can't decide what to do after graduating high school and hasn't dealt with an accident that changed his life while running track years ago. Something happened during an important track race that I won't spoil, but that has led to his sister Kaide as well as his peers losing respect for him. This is also the reason why he uses video games as a way to escape. However, the mechanics of the game and the way it's designed force him to deal with the fallout caused by his actions. Unlike other games, he can't just restart his save file and would have to buy another VR console to start over, which would be very expensive. I like how Tuchii has written the functionality of the game world and how he uses Hiroshi's experience playing Kiwami Quest to highlight his major character flaws. The realistic nature of the game isn't just there as a gimmick or something for the protagonist to criticize for the sake of comedy. Of course, the game's realism serves the comedy well, as it should since it is the major draw of the series. There are plenty of funny moments that occur due to the unusually realistic way of how some of the game's mechanics work. For example, there's a moment where Hiroshi gets hurt and tries to use a healing herb like you would in any other RPG, but it won't work despite him selecting it. It's moments like that where the author is poking fun of how traditional game mechanics work that always manage to put a smile on my face. Tuchii even plays with the implementation of realism in the game world, which results in Hiroshi pointing out whenever there is an inconsistency. Kiwami Quest has a really advanced AI that is so realistic they could pass as human. The NPCs essentially react and change based on what happens around them, like normal people would do. This adds a sense of weight to Hiroshi's actions despite him just being in the game world. This allows for emotional moments like the one in the most recent episode to happen and not seem entirely silly. I already have a good idea of how the protagonist might start to grow throughout the series and the lessons he will learn. He's already taken his first step in the recent episode. I like the character so far, and his reactions to how the various NPCs he encounters treats him after what he did in the beginning are funny. So far there have been a few NPC characters introduced, one of which being the crazy sadistic inquisitor Mizurisa, who takes a liking to Hiroshi after something he did during interrogation. I've already mentioned Alicia, the NPC who acts as the childhood friend, and her brother Martin. Again, without giving too much away, Alicia turns against Hiroshi early on for something that he does. She starts out nice and kind, but her personality shifts not soon after Hiroshi does what he does. The captain of the city of Ted, Tesla, has also been briefly introduced, but there isn't really much to say about him as of now other than he's the most level-headed and perhaps kindest of the NPCs Hiroshi has interacted with thus far. He's also the strongest NPC around the starting city of Ted and will likely be one of the few characters he could rely on. Aside from the NPCs, there are a few player characters that have been introduced, one of which being an older guy named Genji who has been in a similar situation to Hiroshi's predicament. I like the cast of characters so far, and each one of them has a distinct personality, and a few characters like Misarisa and Riona have good character designs. My favorite character so far would be Riona without question. She reminds me a bit of Mira Jane from Fairy Tail in that she's usually upbeat and is always willing to support Hiroshi in whatever way she can. However, Riona is also very opportunistic and manipulative. There were a couple of times where NPCs running shops would take advantage of Hiroshi, and Riona admires them for doing so. She is always looking for more ways to make more money at her shop. I like that despite her deceptive nature, Riona continues to try to encourage and support Hiroshi. Watching those two characters interact with each other has been very entertaining so far, and a lot of that has to do with the dialogue and the voice acting. Hiroshi's voice actor nails a lot of the comedic moments, and Riona's voice actor captures the energy of the character. There are times where the show is very self-aware of the crappiness of the game's design, as this is reflected through Riona or Hiroshi's dialogue. Also, the progression system in the game is hilariously absurd. Essentially, players gain titles based on the actions that they take, and the ones Hiroshi gets always manage to make me chuckle. Before I close this video out, let me speak briefly on the overall production so far. The production value is maybe like a few steps up from something like I'm Standing on a Million Lives. The animation is not as fluid or detailed as Cautious Hero from what I remember, but it's serviceable. Studio NG is a relatively new animation studio with 62 employees as of 2019. Prior to the show, they worked on 2 other series, Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out and Kimono Michi Rise Up. So with that being said, I totally understand if they just lack resources or the experience to produce higher quality animation. I do wonder how crazy this show would look if it was produced by a studio like A1 Pictures, but so far this show hasn't been a very action heavy series, so it's not a big deal to me as of now. Overall, I think Full Dive seems to be a well-written comedy that takes full advantage of the super realistic VR game premise. If you've seen Full Dive, then let me know what you guys think about the show so far in the comment section below. As always, if there's an anime that you would like to see me do a review or a first impression on, consider becoming a member of the channel, joining the Patreon, or simply donating via the PayPal link in the description. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.